Everybody, welcome to the videos for my core plays for week 5 of the NFL season over on DraftKings. This is where I go my 3 favorite cash and GPP plays on the entire slate. And if you do find this video helpful in any way possible, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. If you want to take that one step further, become an official member over on Patreon. Link is down below in the description for that. Lots of extra content over there for all sports, NBA, MLB, NASCAR, and NFL. So if you want to check it out, you know where to find it. Ownership projections, cheat sheets, Discord community, all of that fun stuff. And last but not least, this video is sponsored by PrizePicks. I'm sure most of you know this by now, but if you don't, it's daily fantasy sports simplified, just you versus the projections. There's no sharks, 100 for the max contests, or salary cap restrictions, or anything like that. Just you versus the props they offer each and every single day. And as of right now, if you sign over there, you can get a free money bonus. That's an instant deposit match up to $100, so it's free money. Want to use it to your advantage when you use code CPEN and tell them I sent you. I think it'll be up for the plugs for the most part, so without further ado, let's dive into this week's video. And starting us off with cash core play number 1 this week, it's very obvious he's my highest projected player on the slate by a decent margin, and definitely my highest projected player on the slate, close to 30 fantasy points this week. But it's the king, Derrick Henry at $9,000, and it's all about the volume here. It's a good matchup. It's King Henry. He's going to get us like over 30 total touches pretty much each and every single week. He is averaging us 32 total opportunities per game this year, which the second best is Joe Mixon at 23. Like the gap between him and everybody else in terms of volume is substantial, and I know the price is very hefty this week, but I'm finding it very, very easy to afford the expensive players we want in our lineups this weekend. So there's a lot of value plays out there, quite easy to fit in both Derrick Henry and DAVANTE if you so choose to go that route this weekend. But just getting to the numbers for Derrick Henry, 128 rushing yards per game this year, 28 rushing attempts, a rushing touchdown, 4.5 yards per carry, 31 receiving yards per game, which is kind of a new big thing for Derrick Henry this year. We saw a little bit more Jeremy McNichols than I would have liked last week. He had 12 targets compared to Derrick Henry only getting 2 balls, which he is averaging 3.5 targets per game this year, which equates to a 10% target share, which is way up in the past, over double than his 4 to 5% target share that we've seen in seasons prior. So we'll have to see how that keeps going throughout the season, because the receiving floor for Derrick Henry has been quite nice this year. I'm just not sure it's going to keep up, but he should be able to do all the damage he wants on the ground here versus Jacksonville. They're 4.5 point favorites. They're on the road, but Jacksonville is nearly a bottom 10 team versus running back so far this year, and allowing over a rushing touchdown per game. So King Henry, give me 30 plus touches. No one else is coming close to him volume-wise this season. I do want to mention his prop over on PrizePicks this weekend is a 114.5 rushing yards, and his receiving prop is 14.5 yards, which is not as nice as the 8.5 yardage prop we got last week, which is basically free money. But he has gone over 14.5 each and every single week so far this season as well. Then we got a cash core play number 2. We had Davante Adams at $8,200, who still feels underpriced in my opinion. Yes, I know. I listed the most expensive running back and the most expensive wide receiver in the slate, so yeah, nothing too crazy here. But I just want you guys to know, reaffirm the fact that you can easily play both in your cash game lineup this weekend. Yes, there are several pivots to be had in tournaments, but in cash games this weekend, we have so much value. If Curtis Samuel plays, he's $3,000. Ricky Seals-Jones, he's the starting tight end for that team. He's only $2,500. We have a cheap running back coming up. There's value everywhere. Cheap quarterbacks this week, Trey Lance, Daniel Jones. It's quite easy to fit in both Derrick Henry and Davante Adams this weekend, so that is what I am going to do in cash, and I would recommend the same to you all. But Adams is really hard to pass at the volume. He is the Derrick Henry of wide receivers, if that makes any sense, because he's always going to get volume each and every single week. I know he had a down week last week. I was very high on Davante Adams in cash games. Didn't really matter because he was chalky. It didn't matter what he did. He was super high owned, but a little disappointing. I think he only caught 6 passes for like 50, 60 yards versus Pittsburgh, but I like the spot here on the road versus Cincy. This game only features a 3-point spread and a 50.5 point over-under, which is actually one of the better totals on the entire slate this weekend. He's averaging over 11 targets per game. He's second in the league in target share at 36%, only behind Brandon Cooks and right above Cooper Kupp, 81% weight opportunity share. And the Bengals have been kind of mid-pack versus wide receivers this season, but he's my highest projected wide receiver in terms of points and ownership. And we know Aaron Rodgers always looks his way around the red zone. And if you guys really like Davante Adams this week, his prop on PrizePicks is at 88.5 receiving yards. Then moving on to cash core play number 3, we have Uncle Lenny, Leonard Fournette at $5,200, who just seems too cheap this week. A very positive game script and a very favorable matchup versus the Miami Dolphins run defense, which has been very, very bad so far this year. And I really like Fournette's price point. He's been popping in projections all week long. I will say there's a lot of good mid-range running backs this weekend. And if Alexander Mattison happens to be the starter, if Dalvin Cook gets ruled out, you can replace Leonard Fournette with Alexander Mattison here. You can still play Fournette. Mattison would definitely be right up there with Derrick Henry. He's my favorite running back on these slates. So just keep in mind that this could change depending on potential injury news for tomorrow. But as of right now, it looks like Dalvin Cook will play, maybe a somewhat limited role. So kind of makes it a little bit murky over there. But Leonard Fournette, just seems too cheap in my opinion. Last week, he had 20 carries, 92 rushing yards. He's always involved in the passing game. 5, 3, 4, and 7 targets through the first 4 weeks. He has basically made Ronald Jones an afterthought in this offense. Giovanni Bernard is currently questionable for this game, although it sounds like he's going to be good to go, but I really don't think they're going to have to use Giovanni Bernard too much as 10-point favorites at home. And as I was mentioning, Miami has been very poor versus the run this year. They're 20th DVOA, but they're allowing 33.5 DraftKings points rating to position, which is the 3rd most, over 120 rushing yards per game, over a rushing touchdown, and 6.5 catches on 45 receiving yards per game, which suits Leonard Fournette extremely well. Played around 90% of the snaps last week. I'm not sure we'll see it that high again this weekend, but in a really good spot versus Miami, I think he'll find his way into the end zone and hopefully around 100 total yards. His prop over on Prize Picks this weekend is around 55 rushing yards, which he had 92 last week. This is a very positive game script, and Tampa Bay will give him the ball if they are winning. If you think they're playing with the lead the entire game and it's going to be the Fournette show, that's probably a good over to hit, even though his season averages are under that by around 10 yards. But it is heavily skewed by that 8-yard rushing performance he had versus LA in week 3. And moving on to GPP core play number 1, we have AJ Brown at $6,500, who's making his return this week to the lineup, and there's no Julio Jones, so he's going to be the bona fide wide receiver 1 in this offense, and this is a great spot versus Jacksonville. They're ranked dead last 32nd DVOA versus the pass, 26 versus wide receivers, allowing over 220 receiving yards per game specifically to the wide receiver position. Also want to mention the reason he's a tournament play is because everyone and their mom is playing Derrick Henry this weekend. So I'm not sure a lot of people are going to want to double up at running back and wide receiver for the Titans this weekend, but if you're getting off the Henry chalk and GPPs, you want to play the passing attack here, AJ Brown is the guy to go with. I also think this is a great game to stack up because a lot of the options here, besides Derrick Henry, are pretty affordable, and both defenses are not very good. And with this game featuring a 49-point over-under, I know it's not super amazing, but on this slate, it's actually not that far off of the highest one of the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants at 52. 4.5-point spread, so it should be pretty back and forth. I definitely think this game could pop off, and I think AJ Brown definitely has the potential here to have a monstrous game. Moving on to core play number 2 here in GPPs, we have Zeke Elliott, $7,000. He's currently listed at questionable, so I'm hoping that keeps some people off of him, but it sounds like it's precautionary more than anything else, and he should be able to play through any pain or discomfort that he feels according to the report. So it looks like I'm going to assume he's good to go. And the reason for me that I like him in tournaments, I think you can play him in cash games, but the passing attack for the Cowboys is going to be quite chalky. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper all projecting to be some of the highest owned players at their respective positions. And if that's going to be the case, they're not going to play the running back with that team because it just does not make sense correlation-wise. Plus, the Giants' passing attack and Saquon Barkley are projecting for some pretty high ownership as well. So I'm hoping Zeke is a little bit under the radar here. I don't think he's going to be completely unknown. I'm projecting him for right around 8 to 12% ownership currently, but I think that's a little bit too low. It's a good spot here versus the Giants. He has 4 touchdowns the past couple weeks. Anytime a team has a team total close to 30 as a 7-point favorite at home, that typically bodes well for that home running back, which is Zeke Elliott. And with the Giants being 26th DVOA versus the run and 20th versus running backs, allowing nearly 60 receiving yards per game and over 120 rushing yards specifically to running backs, this is definitely a great spot for Zeke as long as he is fully healthy, good to go. And if he's not, well, it's Tony Pollard time. And our third and final core play of week 5 for tournaments, we have Marvin Jones at $5,700 of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it actually makes sense as a run back option with your Derrick Henry lineups because if you're playing Derrick Henry running back with Marvin Jones, you're assuming the game script of the Titans playing with the lead, just running Derrick Henry, and the Jaguars to throw the ball to play a little bit of catch-up, which is probably what's going to happen here. The Jaguars have no problem at all throwing the ball a lot. And this is a fantastic matchup for Marvin Jones. First off, the way they play defense, and just specifically, they've been terrible versus wide receivers so far this season, allowing the 2nd most points per game to the position. 25th DVOA versus the pass, allowing over 230 receiving yards specifically to wide receivers, and 2 receiving touchdowns. No DJ Shark obviously opens up some more opportunities for guys like Visca and Marvin Jones here. And the big reason I like him in tournaments is that his teammate Laviska Shenault, who I realize is about $1,000 cheaper, I do like him in cash games and I like him overall. But Marvin Jones is coming in at a fraction of the ownership. I'm currently projecting Laviska Shenault to have double-digit ownership, like around 10 to 12%. Marvin Jones is somewhere around the 5% range, so we're talking like half the ownership of Laviska Shenault, and I think he can definitely pop off. Shenault, more of like the safe possession wide receiver. Marvin Jones is the big play upside guy who can take the top off of defense, and he's great on winning matchups and main coverage. So I think he's an excellent pivot off the Laviska Shenault chalk in tournaments. But with that being said, guys, I think that'll be pretty much it for the video. So I hope it was helpful, and if it was, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. If you want to take that one step further, an official member over on Patreon. Link is down below in the description for that. Spreadsheets, ownership projections, projections in generals, all the data you'd ever need, color coded nice and neat, so it's quite easy to follow. In Discord community, I do cover other sports as well, including the NFL, MLB, NASCAR, and the NBA, which is starting quite soon. So there's a lot to be excited about. Definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be busy, but it'll definitely be fun. And don't forget, this video was sponsored by Prize Picks. It's just you versus the projections. And as of right now, if you're new signing over there, you get a free money bonus It's the pause matchup to $100 when you use code CPEN and tell them I sent you. I think it'll be pretty much it though. I will stop rambling. If you guys want to check out the lineup building video, posted that earlier in the day if you want to check that out. But I'll probably get out of here. Wish you guys the best of luck in week 5 and enjoy your Sunday.